Well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Team Excellence Call. This is Lynn Gardner calling in from beautiful but still cold Virginia. We've got pretty bright blue skies and the sun is shining, but it's probably about 40 degrees, something like that. And it's always so good to be with you guys. You know, I'm doing my part to help unify our business from coast to coast. And it's always an honor to be on this side of the call. And I'm always grateful that you tolerate me week after week and now year after year. You know, I believe in giving back. I believe in doing your part to serve with the gifts God's given you. When I was in real estate, I was on the board for the National Association, a volunteer, of course. I committed time and resources to give back to that industry. And I developed coursework for the National Auctioneers Association, and I volunteered to be part of the auction board at that time. Of course, these calls is one small way that I can serve my industry and try to give back a little bit. You know, I do my part, and I do my part on a personal level. You know, I've taught Sunday school for years, children's church, countless Bible studies, you name it, right? I have one going on in my home right now on Monday. So excited. I wish all y'all could attend. You know, we're working on reinforcing the message of being worthy. And we're working on helping people discover what their God-given gifts are and to get them headed in the right direction. You know, women are the majority in this group. Unfortunately, not more men are attending, right? And no offense to my lady friends. I love you. I'm one of you, right? But women can be the most difficult to keep in line sometimes. That's a piece of cake in a business environment, at least it is for me, you know, to rein people in for the sake of business. It's not personal. And that's an easy thing. But it's not so easy on a personal level where kindness and compassion are key. You know, we had a great Bible study recently, and when we got to the discussion part, which of course is my favorite part, you know, there was a lot of interaction, right? And a lot of people contributing, which is really what we just love to see. But what was very interesting, and when it got to that point, there were two ladies sitting side by side, and they were both talking at the same time, and apparently totally oblivious to the fact that the other one was talking. Now, they weren't debating or arguing. It was just very calm conversation flowing out of both of them, you know, and it wasn't just a sentence or two. They just went on and on and on, and somehow they completely tuned the other one out, all for the sake of being heard. I eventually got control of them, had to use a little humor on that one. And I said, hey, I'm blonde, and it's not easy for me to listen to two conversations, you know, going on at the same time. So I got them in line. But it was that experience, a communication train wreck, if you will, that led to this message today entitled, Beware of the Quiet Ones. You know, if you're ever speaking with strangers, let's say at a networking event, for instance, and you're trying to identify the most successful person in that group, don't look for the biggest talker. You see, the ability to keep quiet and listen to what others have to say is a common and critical trait of the most successful people in the world. Listening, in fact, you know, will open your mind to new ideas. You learn so much more when you're willing to listen and you're willing to pay attention to what people are saying. As an entrepreneur, you know, of course, we get used to talking a lot, you know. We're constantly telling people about our business. We're sharing ideas, you know, with our team, or we're going over the business plan and all these things, you know. No doubt we have to be communicators, you know, but I am one. I was given that gift by God. I'm a communicator. You guys know me and my speaking communications, but a lot of you don't know that one of the biggest gifts that I have isn't talking at all, it's listening. You know, I often tell people that the one thing that they love about me is the fact that I'm a good listener, but that eventually sometimes the thing they hate about me, because I can listen. When I listen, I can recall a conversation almost any time verbatim. Why? Because I listened to them with everything I had. I listened to them. You know, back in my real estate days, I signed up hundreds of properties to go to auction, and I did it over the phone. You know, most of y'all can't even imagine selling our devices over the phone, but I was able to do that over the phone. I didn't just sharpen my pitch, right? I did sharpen those skills, but I sharpened my listening skills, and I could tell, or, you know, what was said, what was not being said. I heard inflections, I heard delays, I heard everything in things that, you know, from the other side of the phone. You might need to work more on what you don't say and develop your listening skills more than you need to practice what you are saying. So I got a couple tips for you on those listening skills today. First one is, might surprise you, it's be the last to speak. When I was talking to people on the phone, I would ask some very, questions that would inspire them to just tell me what was going on in their life. And I let them go on and on and on. And I made sure I was the last to speak. Why? Because people want to be heard. When I listened to them, they believed I cared about them, even though we've never met most of them I never did meet. And we talked about their biggest asset over the phone because I listened to what they said. And I could usually tell within the first minute or two of that conversation whether we were even going to do business at all, because I was so careful to listen. You want to be the last one to speak. I read an article once when Nelson Mandela was talking about when he was young, and he learned a valuable lesson from the gatherings where the leaders in their village got together to discuss important matters. And of course, Mandela's father was the tribal chief. But Mandela it wasn't overlooked by him that his father was always the last one to speak. Why? Well, he could easily get up there and beat his chest and, control the meeting. But he really wanted to know the heart of the other leaders. What were they thinking? What was going on? And when he spoke last, he would know what to address. As a leader, if you speak first, you're just setting the pace. You're not necessarily going to listen to anybody. But if you really want to reach the heart of whoever you're dealing with, from your relationship with your significant other, to your children, to your faith, to your business, then you better learn to do a whole lot more listening than you are talking. We hear people say, I want to be a better speaker. People just long to get on a platform or long to do the demo, right? But I seldom hear people say, I want to learn to be a better listener. Number two, shut down the distractions. I tell you, you want to see me go off like a crazy woman? It's trying to do business in this world of distractions. It's crazy, right? There are few things that are more annoying to me than to try to have a conversation with somebody buried in a smartphone, right? Or to be on the podium trying to, bless people and they're holding a private conversation or on their smartphone. You know what, guys? I don't care how smart you think you are. I don't care how good you think you are at multitasking. It doesn't matter to me at all. You cannot listen when you're distracted by other things. When I was raising my kids, I was real stickler for manners. I wasn't like a drill sergeant. I expressed manners to my kids and respect to my kids. And I wanted them to give it back. But one of the things that when they were small, I was teaching them as we were having a conversation was, no, look at me. So today, if you go up to my children, they're looking at you, they're listening to you. I taught them how to do that. We have to be sure that we're always giving undivided attention. If you want to try to do a business, in a business of people, in a business of compassion, you better learn to listen more than you learn to speak. Friends tease me all the time, my close circle at least, perhaps somebody will bring a friend to the farm, and before you know it, this person is like pouring out their whole life story, a story that my friend had never even heard. And they'll tease me and say, I don't know why people do that. Why do they do that? Because I listen to them. And they know that when they're speaking, I'm totally engaged. People want to be heard. They don't just want to be talked to. That's what communication looks like. You give them your attention. Be sure to use your time wisely as well. If you're in a meeting with me ever, it's a very rare thing. Once in a while, I might have to say, you'll have to forgive me. I'm expecting one phone call. It will just take a couple of seconds, but I'm going to leave my phone here just in case. Otherwise, my phone's not out there. You're not going to see me answering a phone call or answering a text or whatever. You're going to see that I'm giving you my undivided attention. And so when I meet with you, I expect the same thing. I was reading this morning about how people scrolling on Facebook, that people scroll, the average person, 300 feet of digital message on their phone every 300 feet. Guys, learn to pay attention in life. You can put those things aside and give people your undivided attention. And if you need to be reminded of that, just try to think about what it's like to communicate with your significant other. Maybe there's a conflict. Maybe there's something important you need to discuss. And one of them staring at the TV and refuses to even look at you. People know when you're paying attention. And you might hear a voice, but you're not hearing what they say. Number three is mind your body language. We've all heard that before, right? But we really, if we're going to learn to be good listeners, we have to be very, very careful of our body language. Simple things like crossing your arms, we all know that. But, when you're really tuned into listening, just be aware of your body language and what that's saying to the speaker. Unfold your arms. One time I remember I was training somebody in the auction business, and we did go meet with a client. And after we left, that person observed that whatever I did, the person, the client was mimicking. If I leaned forward, they leaned forward. If I sat back, they sat back. If I crossed my legs, they crossed their legs. That's, when you're really engaged in conversation, believe it or not, those things are natural things where people are listening, they're talking, they're engaging. That's what you want. Pay attention to what's not being said. Boy, that's true in a relationship, isn't it? Somebody goes silence out, or we women, we're famous for saying, they say, "What's wrong, honey?" And we say, "Nothing," right? We listen, the things you don't say are probably more important than what is said. It's true in your relationships. It's true with your children. It's true in your faith. And sure, it's true in our business. But unless you learn to listen for what's not being said, you don't get down to real, honest communication. I could probably sit with any one of you and go on a meeting with a prospect and just sit back and observe. And I could tell you so much more about the prospect than you ever knew. And it's because I know how to listen. I know how to look for their body language. I know how to communicate with them without ever saying a word. So it's an important factor, guys. And I think you need to think more about that than what you say. And then make sure you listen to the quiet voices. Not everybody is outspoken. Not everybody speaks up. And sometimes maybe if you're in a group with or meeting with your team, you might want to call on somebody and say, "What are your thoughts on that?" If you're meeting with husband and wife and going over our technology and one of them's silent, you need to draw them out of it. You need to listen to their quiet voice, right? Most people, again, go through this life and some go through wanting to build a business, but believing that the most important thing is, what words do I say? Half of you out there on the phone right now aren't even doing your business because you freak out about not knowing what to say. You see that as the most powerful communication skill on the planet. It's important, but it's not the most important. Listening is far more important than speaking when it comes to success. So beware of those quiet ones. Let them have a platform, right? I was, again, in this same Bible study one week, this very, very quiet one. She doesn't usually speak up. She started to say something in that, interaction time. And I had a problem. I was streaming my slides to the TV and something had gone amok and it was very distracting. So she started to speak and I said, "Hold that thought 1 second." And I turned around to fix the technology so it wouldn't disrupt. And she teased me and said, "What, you can't walk and chew gum at the same time?" And I said, "No, I want to give you my undivided attention." Well, later on, she came to me, it was actually days later, and she said, "You have no idea what that meant to me. I rarely say anything. And you made it a point to let me know that what I was saying, you didn't even know what I was going to say, but it was of such value to you that you wanted to give me your undivided attention." Guys, it never slips by, not in your personal life and not in your professional life. Listen is far more important than speaking when it comes to success. I'm a woman of faith, and there's a whole lot to say about how we speak and the power of the tongue. It's like a two-edged sword, but there's also a whole lot to say about listening. So I'm going to name off a few of those reminders that we read just to let you know that it is as important as speaking. In James 1, we hear, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." Proverbs 12 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." Proverbs 18, "If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame." Proverbs 19, "Cease to hear instruction, my son, and you will stray from words of knowledge." Proverbs 18 says, "A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in his expressing his opinion." Guys, you can go on and on. You could do an entire study just on listening, right? So, don't take it lightly, and don't think that it's more important to speak than it is to listen. The successful ones may have mastered the speaking skills, but their biggest success comes in the silence. When you listen intently to what's said and what's not said, you set aside distractions and you learn that the importance of listening. You have no idea how far you'll soar, and you'll have no idea how much you'll learn just in the silence. So beware of the quiet ones. If you're quiet or you struggle with the idea of public speaking, don't fret. Some are going to master that. Some people are never going to master that. And that doesn't mean you can't be successful. But everybody can learn to be a masterful listener. And it's the quiet ones that lead the way. So you guys go focus on that today. I hope that you'll think about that. The next meeting you have with your significant other, your child, in the church, to someone you're sharing your faith with, and to this business, focus a lot more on listening than you will on speaking. Listen, we're in the business of filling needs. Unless you listen and find out the needs, you have no idea what to fill. So there's more power in the silence. Beware of those quiet ones. You guys go to make it a great day. Hope you'll ponder this. I wish you success. Blessings to you all. See you at the top, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.